welcome to the podcast Dark Side of the Moon. And I'm Bella, and I'm a psychic medium.
And I'm Nancy. I'm her cousin and the paranormal researcher.
She's like, and the paranormal researcher. Yes, welcome to this episode. This episode, we're going to be talking about the witch trials in here in Canada. So we call this one Beyond Salem because people think that witch trials were just in Salem, and there wasn't. They were all over the world, which we've already done some of those in Europe and everywhere else. But we're going to do talking about Canada, which is where we're at right now. We're Canadian.
Right. Oh yeah, people don't realize we're in Canada.
We're in Canada. So now the thing's funny about the witch trials in Canada, they were handled completely different than the Americans handled it and the Europeans.
Really?
Yeah. So when I was looking at this, and it's in Canada, it was witchcraft wasn't a crime, but the pretending to practice witchcraft, that was illegal. And it was only actually illegal until 2018.
Until 2018.
Till 2018. So, and here it is. I'm going to give you the legality part of it here. Under Section 365 of the Criminal Code of Canada, this is what it is. Pretending to practice witchcraft. 365, everyone who fraudulently pretends to exercise or to use any kind of witchcraft, sorcery, enchantment, or conjuration. B, undertakes for a consideration to tell fortunes. Or C, pretends from his skill in or knowledge of an occult or crafty science to discover where or in what manner anything that is supposed to have been stolen or lost may be found, is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction. So basically it's like if you're pretending to do witchcraft, you can do witchcraft if you're legit, but if you pretend, you're going.
Differentiate legit to pretending? And usually even says fortune telling. So if somebody's like a psychic or a fortune teller.
Well, a lot of those ones that try and scam you, right?
Oh, okay.
Right? They'll say you're going to do this. This is going to happen. If you give me $10,000, then we'll sell your house, whatever. Okay. So the law was implemented in 1892 and was based off of a previous 1735 British statute, which condemned fraudulent claims of occult powers.
Okay.
So that's when it all kind of like, and the statute attempted to remove earlier religious rhetoric prior to the 18th century. So basically it was just like, you can be a witch all you want, but if you're a fake witch, you're out. They didn't kill you.
Oh, that's the thing. Do we actually kill people again?
No. In Canada, we never actually killed anybody. They were like, we weren't like that at all.
Oh.
What we did was we banished you. You were a witch, or you were convicted of being a witch, or even if you were convicted of doing fraudulent stuff, we wouldn't kill you. Not necessarily. And if you were actually sentenced to death, you could actually apply to Parliament to have it relooked at.
Oh.
So there was very little witch killing in Canada. Well, banishment, like crazy.
I mean, Canadians we are nice. We're nice, friendly people. So yeah.
So
sorry, but not sorry.
So witchcraft and witch trials were actually really common in the part of North American, especially in French Canada.
Well, it makes sense because they have like European.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the two that were really thing, but it was just funny reading some of the stories that were in there. And they were like some of the things that people were really found guilty for. Witchcraft, it wasn't even really witchcraft. It was kind of like blasphemy. If you were like, apparently you only swear if you're a witch.
Really?
Yeah. So it was like blasphemy was part of that. Adultery.
Okay.
Right. So
how does that relate to witchcraft?
It was just kind of weird. Like there was one that I saw in Arcadia that happened. It was the Jerseys in Arcadia. So it was Cheticamp witches. That's what the name of the story is. And this happened in Cape Breton.
Cape Breton? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it was just like, basically it was like the Jerseymen, they had their own witch, and the Acadians, they had their other witch. So, yeah, so it was basically the two camps.
Tale of the two witches?
Yes.
Two families?
These two camps would send like spells against each other. So they would use the one witch.
Wow.
It was like, my cows they're not milking, so it's got to be the Acadians that are
Right.
doing this. So they would go to their witch and say, send them something over. So the
Like
witch
that.
would send a spell over, and then
like
it was
that.
like, my crops aren't growing, so we're gonna.
It's like the American equivalent of Hatfields and Bushes.
That's pretty much what it was. So that's pretty much what it was. So it was like it was back and forth, and this
Oh my
happened
God.
for several years. And then finally they went to court over it, and some guy got accused of it, and it was
Okay.
like the witnesses that came forward to say that yes, he was a witch. Stated this is what I'm going to read exactly what they said.
Okay.
They're like, this witness stated that he saw the accused spread mysterious seeds into the marsh while reciting an incantation, and
Yeah.
the next fall, this guy had a terrible crop. Not the one the one that's accusing him.
Right.
So the guy that was accused, he goes, hey, it doesn't need, I don't need magic for you to be a terrible farmer.
No, yeah, no
Right.
kidding.
Right. So this is how they thought. This is how Canadians thought. So so therefore he wasn't convicted of anything, because this is the thing. It's like, you need to have proof. You need to have physical proof
Right.
that this person is actual witch. You can go and accuse them all you want, but you have to have physical proof of what they've done to you and what it is. And then we will either look at either killing them if it's really bad,
You're right.
or we're gonna just banish them.
And there would have been no physical proof anyway.
Yeah, there wasn't.
No
Like
videos, no.
There was another guy who wanted to have he wanted to have sex with this woman who was married to someone else. So apparently he went to some witch, and they did like this thing called it was something with a knotting of the needle.
Okay.
And it was like a weird thing. It was like basically it was a feared spell among all the people in France, in modern day France, and it used for jealous rivals for newlyweds. It was basically to separate these newlyweds so that they wouldn't have any children. And the problem was, this woman, I don't think she could have children, because then was for several years, like she couldn't conceive. Because after several years, she couldn't conceive.
Nothing to do with witchcraft.
Had nothing to do with witchcraft. And this guy had actually professed that he had gone to do this. So they brought him to trial, saying that he was the one who put the curse on him, and blah, 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 and this and that. And he's like, the guy then said, yeah, I did do that, but it's not because of magic. It's because I just wanted to enjoy her.
Oh my God.
So
typical guy.
Yeah. Had nothing to do with it. So it was just like things like that. Canada was pretty laid back with the witches thing. It was just like funny seeing some of the things that were accused of, people that were accused of witchcraft, but it never really went anywhere. Like they would just basically taking care of it in town, and a lot of times people would just be fined if they were accused of witchcraft and something did happen. They would be fined.
Right.
The only time it would really, if it went further, then they would be taken to the parliament and they might be sentenced to death. But I never found anything really where somebody actually was hung.
So now,
or killed.
So now basically, if you're accused of stuff like that, you're basically fraud.
Yeah.
Right.
And then that's when they brought in the law. So, and it just went from there. So if you're accused of witchcraft, it's like, it's you can be a witch all you want, but if you're a fake witch, that's what you have to, that's
right,
what
because you're scamming people.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, because you're scamming people. And that's what they wanted. They didn't want people being scammed. And that's what the majority of the ones that were.
Right.
So the only one that actually was convicted and had to pay like a huge fine was that I found. And she was from Huron County.
It's not that far.
Yeah, her name was Maggie Pollock. Or Pollock?
Pollock.
And she was convicted. She was the last one convicted under the law of 1919. And it was a weird case. It was kind of like, she was more of a psychic medium, really, because she would come and she would have visions and different things. So people would come to her and they would pay her to locate different things or for their crops. So this one guy said that he went there because he lost, I think he lost his cow or something like that. He was a farmer. He just like reading about it. Yeah, he was trying to find it, and she said she would help him, and then he paid her money at the time. I don't know if he paid her like 25 cents or something.
Right.
And to help her, and then he said his cow never came back. Like apparently she was supposed to help him bring the cow back and never did. So he took her to court and said she was fraudulent. She wasn't. That's the only way he could have accused her, saying that she wasn't real. And even though a bunch of people came in and said that she actually was a real deal, she was really it would fall more under the category of a psychic, but which is still under the same law.
Right.
She said that she was real, and that so in the end, she lived with her brother. So because I think she wasn't married.
Okay.
They still ended up convicting her of being fraudulent because there was no proof. Even though she had all these witnesses saying that she did help them and she helped them find this and find that and she
They
whatever.
didn't care. Surprisingly.
No, they didn't take the word of the witnesses. They took the word of this farmer. And I think
because if you have 20 witnesses against one person, you
Yeah.
think that they would take.
I think there was like 2 people that came over on his side and then and then a whole bunch of hers on the other. But the judge still didn't care. And then they ended up actually fighting it. She ended up fighting the conviction from the judge, and it ended up being held.
Oh,
So she ended up having to pay $200.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of money back
1919.
then. Yeah, especially since she was charging like pennies for her readings or whatever it was. And so she ended up being charged under that. And she
Wow.
didn't do any jail time. But she did end up getting charged like 200 bucks. Her and her brother both ended up getting charged, which I'm like, why did her brother get charged?
Maybe because he's her
Housing
guardian.
her. She died in 1931 at the age of 70, and she went to her grave saying that she was a real, like she never recanted that she wasn't. But yeah, that's the only one that really saw that kind of like got a harsh punishment.
Right.
And maybe the judge was just being a jerk.
Maybe just showing, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Canada was pretty like, I guess compared to everything else, pretty civil.
Yeah.
So
Well, by then we had already gone through the European and the probably the Salem ones, right? Because this is after all that.
No, some of the stuff was starting during the Salem.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, some of the original ones started like in the 16 and the 15. So
oh, it did. Okay.
Yeah,
and we're always
so-
pretty like.
yeah,
same.
we were just like, well, we were like the rest
Yeah.
of Europe, right? So let us know in the comments. Do you guys agree with this? With the abolishing this? It's been gone for 2018. Do you know anybody that was convicted under this law?
We never know, right? Yeah.
So that's the story that we've got. Although we should leave you with like a little witch story of our own. Do you have one, Nancy, about any encounter with witches?
An
You've had-
encounter with witches.
Well, something that's like kind of left a bad taste in your mouth.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, yeah, remember the one? Yes, you do.
Which one?
Let me remind you. Remember the one class we decided, okay, Nancy and I, this is the thing with us. We'll do things that find interesting just to see like what the other side's kind of doing. And we decided to take a Wicca class locally.
Oh my God, I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
A Wicca class locally. And it was being taught to us, and she said she was a witch,
Yeah, and
but she also said she wasn't Wiccan. So it was kind of a weird thing. You're teaching a Wiccan
she was
class,
teaching a Wiccan class, and
but you're pagan.
right. Why were we taking a Wiccan class in the first place? I would think it was just to find out
Because we wanted,
knowledge.
yeah, it was just to figure out
found
what,
it interesting.
yeah, we found it interesting. We didn't have anything else to do, and the class was like cheap.
Yeah.
So we decided to take it. And then,
and Wiccan isn't a bad thing. It's you work with nature and it's,
Yeah.
it's trying to
so
stay positive.
we didn't
and
know
trying to
anything
positive
about
things.
Wiccan. So we decided, let's go do this. I think there was like 2 classes that we were looking at, and we were like, okay, well, let's do this one. Cause the other one was like making like a witches thing. And we're just like, we really don't know what that is all about.
No.
The way they advertise it was talking about Wiccan and blah, blah, blah. So like, let's just see what this is all about. And I think it actually was a 2-parter class. Remember, we didn't go to the second one after
Yeah,
that.
we didn't after because the one thing I didn't enjoy about her particularly is that she kind of believed in like an eye for an eye. I think that's where I was getting a little weirded out.
Well,
Or-
during the class, there was a girl that was sitting. Remember, she was talking about how she wanted to summon something.
Right.
And
That was creepy. That's
Mhm.
when I was like, yeah, I'm done with this.
and then all of a sudden she was like, and whatever the girl was wanting to summon was, and I remember like her saying, well, that's pretty powerful, which we had no idea what the heck
what
she
they
was
were
talking
even
about.
talking about, honestly,
Yeah.
because we were totally
Because we were sitting there and like she was at one end and the other girl was at the other one, and we were just like this.
there.
And we were the whole time I'm looking at Nancy and I'm thinking, what in the hell did we get ourselves into this time?
Yeah.
So she proceeds to tell the girl's like, yeah, I want to do it. She was like, are you sure you want to do this? And instead of saying, I really don't think you should do this because you're not able to handle it, that would be something responsible. And I'm not going to be the one that's going to put you in this thing.
Mhm.
Or if you want to, how about I help you out and you come with me and do this together? So that way I know the safeguards for it. And I'll teach you how to do it properly. Instead, she sat there and she told the girl exactly what she needed to do. Like, gave her the herbs to do it and like pretty quick.
Yeah, seemed very negligent.
Yeah. And we were just like, okay, this doesn't look like it's gonna turn out well.
No, and that's not what I wanted to take a Wiccan class.
Yeah, I didn't want to take a
It was more just for knowledge, and it was
Yeah.
interesting to see that they work with nature and being positive and putting
we were
positive
supposed to put
energy
together like a broom, a besan,
yeah.
made of herbs. So it seemed like it was very
But
tame.
it was to bring positivity into your life, not
Yeah.
to like.
It turned it
Yeah,
took a
no.
it took a quick turn.
I just remember when I came from that is that it wasn't the class I signed up for.
Yeah, I remember like having a break and you and I kind of looking at each other and going,
It's not what I said.
we should do you think they would notice us if we jetted out? And they would, because there was only like 5 people in the class.
Yeah.
And then
it was false advertising.
Yeah,
it wasn't a Wiccan. It
wasn't what it was supposed to be. It was false advertising from the start when she sat down and she goes, I'm not Wiccan.
Yeah, that's
right. And we're just
right,
like, well,
that's right.
How are you gonna teach this class?
I just realized we've taken some weird ass shit.
We have. So
and just for the sake of, not because we wanted to be into witchcraft, it had nothing to do with that.
It was just curiosity.
It was just curiosity. Oh, what is Wiccan about? Because
Yeah.
I knew it's a religion, and I know it's not an evil religion.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, let's find out. And then I get in there and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm taking a witchcraft class. No,
Usually it's me that looks stuff up and then I'm like, hey Nancy, do you want to do this?
Yeah.
And she never says no, which is great. So
sometimes
rare. So anyways, that is one of our stories, and there is many more to come. So don't forget to tune in again next week for our next episode, which I don't know what it is yet. Probably ghost stories. Who knows? But whatever it is, you're going to enjoy it. Don't forget to like and share and comment. And that's it for today.
Yep.
Bye.
Have a good one.